Good afternoon and welcome to a special edition of People to People Australia's Market Update. Thrive in 2025, How to Succeed Amid a Market Uncertainty. I'm 𝗪𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗀, Team Leader for our Melbourne Legal and Business Support Team in Victoria. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people, the traditional custodians of the land in which we are meeting today. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend the respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Now, the Australian labour market in 2024 has faced significant hurdles with economic uncertainties and evolving demands for workforce skills. As companies attempt to adapt to these rapidly changing conditions, job seekers are contending with an oversaturated market and a landscape that remains tough to navigate and full of competition. Today, on our special edition of the Australian Market Report, we will be joined by an expert panel to break down the top workplace trends affecting the country's employment landscape throughout 2024, reveal their predictions for what the job market will look like in 2025, and share insights on how to succeed amid market uncertainty. But before we jump into our panel, how has the talent and hiring landscape been across Australia? Let's take a look at some of our labour trends. Australia's labour market remains resilient, with the unemployment rate steady at 4.1%. The consistent unemployment rate over time shows that while there may be natural fluctuations in specific sectors, overall employment opportunities continue to be accessible for many Australians. This rate also suggests a level of economic confidence as it remains relatively low by historical standards, indicating that businesses are retaining employees and, in some cases, slowly expanding their workforce. The increase in the participation rate of 67.2% signals more Australians are entering or re-entering the labour force. An increasing participation rate generally reflects a healthy labour market as more individuals feel optimistic about their chances of finding employment. Throughout the year, an upward trend in participation aligns with Australia's ongoing recovery from previous economic disruptions, demonstrating that both younger entrants and previously inactive workers are now more actively contributing to the workforce. The employment level reaching over 14 million reflects a significant boost in job creation and sustained employment growth over the year. With both full-time and part-time roles contributing to the rise, it suggests flexibility and diversity with the job market, catering to a range of employment needs and preferences. This growth in employment, along with high participation rate and steady unemployment figures, highlights a robust labour market and can adapt to changing economic conditions and provide Australians with a stable job prospect. So how exactly has the labour market impacted the world of work? Joining me today to help share the insights on how to succeed amid a market of uncertainty and thrive in 2025, we have recruitment consultant James Greenwell from our Adelaide office. We've got specialist recruitment consultant Leanne Lazarus from Brisbane, temporary recruitment consultant Sergei Evglevski from our Melbourne team, temporary team leader Aiden Boast from Sydney, and legal professional recruitment consultant Steph Croker from our Perth office. And thank you all for joining us today. Now, jumping into the conversation today, is the 4-day work week becoming the ultimate incentive for job seekers today? 60% of companies that have trialled a 4-day work week in Australia have found it easier to attract talent for implementing a 4-day work week. Among job seekers, 96% of employees favoured their reduced schedule, and with more than 2/3 reporting decreased burnout. What is the future of a 4-day work week? Is this the new bargaining chip for attracting job seekers? We'll start first with James Greenwell from our People to People Adelaide team. Thanks for joining us, James.
Hi, Mary.
So since the pandemic, workplace flexibility has become the top priority for job seekers. In 2024, has the growing trend of the 4-day work week influenced job seekers' decisions when choosing career opportunities?
There's no doubt that it's an interesting opportunity for a large number of job seekers, but it's important to note, I think, that work flexibility means different things to different people. So a 4-day work week, although generally attractive to most job seekers, is not going to suit everyone, and it's not going to suit every employer either. So I think for those where the organisation's goals and requirements meets the needs of the job seeker, then it's an extremely attractive proposition. But it is fairly early days as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, for some people it's working shorter days over 5 days, but for others they may even work longer days in a shorter amount of time. So I think understanding that is important. And now some employers may be hesitant or against introducing the idea of a 4-day work week into their organisation, and many may be uncertain about how it will affect a number of factors, including collaboration, workload distribution, or whether it would impact overall productivity. What advice do you have for employers to overcome this and any potential obstacles in transitioning to a 4-day work week?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. As previously noted, it is early days in terms of the models and pilots around a 4-day work week, and there's a couple of different options within those models that are still being explored. So the recommendation would be to proceed with some caution, particularly if this is new to an organisation and not something that they've looked at previously. As stated, it's not going to suit everyone and every organisation, and it needs to be understanding the employee expectations and their specific needs, and being able to line up with what with productivity requirements is really the critical thing.
Yeah, great insight there. And while it is a great initiative, it's still not a common work model. Is it realistic for job seekers to request a 4-day work week when interviewing?
It's probably certainly seen as an earned privilege at this stage, particularly with the number of pilots around the place. So for someone fairly new to the job market to expect a 4-day work week is probably a little ambitious. And as previously noted, this is an arrangement that's going to suit everyone. So it's really about understanding the developmental stage that a candidate or a job seeker is at, and whether that their needs are going to be met by working a 4-day work week or a condensed work week or whatever the arrangement might be is something that needs to be carefully considered. But I think that it's a little bit early in the implementation to be expecting that that'll be something available to everyone.
Yeah, great. And I'd like to bring in the rest of the panel for your thoughts. How do you anticipate a 4-day work week trend will evolve in 2025?
Well, I'm happy to say there's a number of pilot programs that are going on around the country at the moment, and there's a couple of very large-scale employers who are implementing these programs. And as the data unfolds from these pilot programs, and particularly from the larger employer groups, that will inform the market a lot more. So there seems to be the early results, the research suggests that it's been quite a positive experience for those involved, both from an employee and a productivity point of view. But it is still very early days in a lot of the pilot programs and a bit early to be making large calls. There's some evidence that in a market of 4% unemployment and still a fairly tight candidate market, that there are some rewards for early adopters in terms of employers. It's suggested that better talent will be attracted to organisations that offer this as an employee benefit. But as I say, there's still a number of programs that are yet to report any really large-scale meaningful data to make those calls definitively.
So I was going to say, I know in the UK, I've got family members who have actually been part of a trial for a 4-day work week. So they fitted in actually working 4 days, but 10 hours during that day. So while it does seem attractive for people to work 4 days, they're actually working more hours during them 4 days and actually finding it quite hard to fit in the other things which they do after work and before work. So I think it's down to a personal preference. I think I'd find it quite hard to work 10 hours a day and be able to fit in all the other work-life things I do outside of work. So yeah, it would be interesting to see. But I don't know whether it would be a company-wide policy or whether it would be an individual agreement, because I think people have personal preferences. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens.
And I think I agree with James in the sense that it is still early days and there are a lot of organisations that are sort of hanging back, waiting to see that data that comes through before they even contemplate bringing it into an organisation. And I think once that data comes through, we'll start seeing some differences. But again, like Aiden said, I think more organisations will potentially be looking at it as an individual thing as opposed to necessarily a blanket approach, because it depends on people's needs and requirements for work-life balance as well.
Aiden's example is really interesting too, because there isn't a clear model as yet. Is that condensed days? Is that condensed hours? There's different approaches to this. It's certainly not a one size fits all. So that's the sort of stuff that people are looking. That's the sort of information that people are looking for to be able to make a more informed decision.
Yeah, well, looks like it's more of a watch this space and see what happens in 2025, that's for sure. Well, that leads us perfectly into the next topic, which is cost of living versus career growth and what are employees prioritising. What impact is the rising cost of living having on job seekers and their career ambitions? In the latest report released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, it showed that there were currently 961,000 Australians who were working multiple jobs to meet cost of living pressures and rising underemployment. How has this affected employee priorities this year, and what will it look like moving forward? Are workers now prioritising the cost of living over career progression? To help us break down this trend, we are joined by specialist recruitment consultant Leanne Lazarus from our People to People Brisbane team. Leanne, have you seen job seekers compromising on career advancement opportunities this year, maybe taking a lower paying job that they are overqualified for due to the current economic pressure?
Thanks, Mary. It's a really interesting question. I think we need to, before we sort of go there, we need to have a look at the fact of, if we look at the market for 2022, 23 versus 2024, it's definitely been a challenging couple of years in terms of from a recruitment or job seekers and even from an organization's perspective. 2022, 2023, we saw there was definitely a recruitment boom. There were a lot of vacancies out there. There was still skill shortage, which obviously made it challenging. There was a lot of newly created roles and a lot of organizations looking to replace roles that had potentially been vacant for a period of time due to COVID. This definitely helped increase salaries in the marketplace, and we saw a lot of people move roles to gain that increase in salary from that perspective as well. The market definitely has shifted in 2024 in the sense of it's slowed a little bit. We still have the skill shortage out there, but several people have decided to return to the market after making that jump where they got the salary increases. They've identified different things along the lines of the role's not ticking the boxes, the company culture is not ideal, so salary is not necessarily compensating for that. Expectations are not aligning. The role the role ended up not being what it was as described in the interview. So people have definitely sort of reevaluated what's important for them in the market. Looking at the market that is there at the moment, people are still very much focused around work-life balance. So they have reevaluated and at times have decided to take a step back. So taken on roles that are potentially not at the same level, salary is a little bit lower, but they get other value-added benefits. So I've seen in the market training, development, internal growth is important, and sometimes people are willing to take a slight step back in order to take a step forward in the future.
Yeah, great. And I guess that kind of leads into the next question there, Leanne. So where there are signs of job seekers that may be willing to forego career progression for, sorry, let me rephrase. Are there signs of job seekers that may be willing to forego progression or more stable and higher immediate pay? And how has this impacted employers in their hiring processes?
Again, it's a great question. And I think it also comes down to a lot of individual preferences and their personal situations as well. I've definitely seen an increase in the market where, from a talent perspective, it's not always just been about the salary. It's not about just the salary at the moment. It's a lot of candidates or job seekers are, when I'm talking to them about why they're coming back into the market, it is around growth, development, and that could be lateral, it could be progression in the organization, the training provided. Don't get me wrong, salary is still very important for people considering, the market that we live in, and money does make the world go round. But and I think for a lot of people, it's not just about the money anymore. It's about what I classify as the full package. So what's been offered in total? Is there flexibility in the role? Is there career progression? Is there succession planning, training and development, the culture of an organization, stability and longevity, benefits, rewards? All of that does play a factor. Salary still does, but I think that also sort of comes into the picture for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for most people, no one really wants. Preferably, people don't want to move a role and not get a salary increase, but I think there is a bit of flexibility around that if they have all the other that goes with it. So I think career progression for people is important, but it doesn't have to happen today as long as there's that trajectory or that succession planning in place. It'll tick a box for them as well.
We've definitely noticed that even talking to candidates, it doesn't need to happen right now, but they want to know what is the plan? Is there a progression opportunity here, or will I just be stuck in the same role for 4 or 5 years? And
Correct. And that's why we've also seen organizations looking at what not just their attraction strategy is, but what their retention strategy is. And we've seen a lot more learning and development related roles come out to market because companies are looking at that as a value add, but also from a business perspective, building internal capabilities to help further the business and grow the business with the skills that are there.
Oh, beautiful. And Leanne, are there any potential long-term impacts that opting for short-term job solutions may have on an individual's career trajectory?
I think from that perspective, COVID sort of impacted a lot of people in the sense of when we had redundancies, people had reduced hours, people were stood down. We saw people come into the market, and with the market being so tight for the first 2 years, I think people were quite happy to take on those temporary contract positions, which definitely when you look at a person's resume at the moment, you will see for some people there is the trend for those shorter term roles and moving between positions. As the market started to settle down, and obviously companies as well during COVID were very cautious about just recruiting people into the business. So temp and contract roles or placements were much more, it was a better business decision for organizations. I think in terms of the market, when it comes down to a couple of different things, and people, when you see movement on a resume, as long as you can share knowledge and explain the movement in the reason for the movement on your resume, I think that's a key thing. So whether it be explaining that it was a contract position, or it was a short-term role due to projects, or short-term because there was a headcount freeze or recruitment freeze in an organization, that all makes difference in terms of explaining the reason for the movement on a resume. And I think the other side of it is when you talk to organizations, some companies love seeing movement on a resume because it shows people are quick to adapt, they're quick to learn, they bring a fresh set of eyes, they bring different skills and experience to the role, which is great. And then other clients prefer to see tenure on a resume because they just, I think from their perspective, it's in a way they get the skills and experience, but they also get longevity and they get tenure. They're not running the risk of someone potentially looking to move on in the short term. It really comes down to the perspective of the culture and of the organization and the leadership team as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great insights there. And I'd like to bring in the rest of the panel for their thoughts on how they think this has impacted the market. So, team, how do you see the cost of living impacting our job seekers and hiring managers throughout 2025?
I've certainly found in the legal market that employers are waiting for the right fit. Looking at the 2021-22 market, it was very much about filling roles that were vacant, and there was an urgency to get those roles filled. Now sort of shifted in that most employers and most firms are sort of sitting and waiting for the right candidate, the right person, and they're willing to wait for that. So I see that definitely has had a shift in the market in recent times and probably will continue on next year as well.
We saw in Sydney a huge jump up in minimum award rates as well. So not the actual standard minimum award increases, but the actual how much are we going to be paying a temp, because the cost of living is so expensive. So we have had to jump up and we've had to pay accordingly to the current trends of the market. So yeah, entry level candidates are getting 70 plus, even more as a salary, and then convert it down to an hourly rate. But that's typical for Sydney because it's very expensive to live here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just making sure that we're continually having those conversations and educating, employers as well, that is the reality of the market. I'm sure we've all had the conversation where we've represented a junior, or, you've applied for a junior role and you get pushback on salary, but that's realistic world that we're living in at the moment, that if you want to put food on the table and a roof over your head, that they're the salaries that we're looking at. So thank you for your insight there, team.
If I can just say, I think one of the things I have started to see come through the market at the moment, because when you look at it from a job seeker's perspective, obviously you're looking at your salary, but from a company perspective as well, I have seen a little bit more happening in the market where clients are they've got strict budgets, because obviously they're looking at what they need to achieve in the year, what their resources look like. So I'm finding that there is a little bit of a pushback from an organization perspective at times, in sense of what they feel the role is valued at. But when they look at it at an internal perspective, if it's a similar role, they've also got to be mindful of not necessarily bringing someone on at a very high salary in comparison to someone else doing the same job. The other thing I have seen as well is organizations are going through that recruitment process with someone and taking the time to find the right person, but getting to that offer stage and potentially looking at it going, is there flexibility in terms of the salary that you're looking to take on to come on board, which sometimes is not the ideal thing, because you may miss out on someone that's really good for a little bit of extra money. But it also means you may have to go back to market, and it does impact your brand as well.
Shifting gears now, how is AI impacting job security in the next few years? With the implementation of AI across Australia, how has this changed the job market? Is the age of AI redefining the future of work for better or worse? While 80% of Aussie execs believe AI will significantly boost productivity by automating tasks and streamlining workflows, only 8% of businesses have implemented generative AI, 3% below the global average. However, as reported by ANZ, 70% of top business leaders are making it their top priority coming into 2025. With the implementation of AI across Australia, how has this impacted the employment and job market? For more on this, we are joined by temporary recruitment consultant Sergei Evglevski from 𝗙𝗵𝗹𝗹𝗀𝗀's Melbourne office. Thanks for jumping on, Sergei.
Thanks so much for having me, Mary.
No worries. So how has AI changed the landscape of employment across different industries so far?
So I think AI has significantly changed the landscape of employment across various different industries by automating routine tasks and improving efficiency. It's also creating new job roles. So in sectors like manufacturing, AI-driven robotics has handled the repetitive tasks, and in sectors like healthcare, AI helps with diagnostics and administrative tasks. So we can also see in retail that chatbots and recommendation systems have also been implemented to enhance that customer service. So while AI is reshaping job roles, there's also an emphasis on collaboration between people and their skills, as well as machines and AI and that whole AI technology as well.
Great. And while technology has advanced significantly over the past 5 to 10 years, the rapid rise of AI in the last 2 to 3 has heightened concerns about potential job displacement. Has this growth in AI actually led to noticeable job losses? However, and conversely, what new job opportunities have emerged as AI becomes more integrated into various industries?
So with the rise of AI in the last 2 to 3 years, this has definitely led to some job displacements, especially with more routine, manual and repetitive roles. Jobs like customer service, data entry and some factory work has had an automated technology introduced, and which in turn reduces the need of human workers in those areas. However, AI has also created jobs and created more job opportunities. Roles in AI development, data science, machine learning, and robotics have been massively growing. And there's also a really high demand for jobs to work alongside AI and to help maintain the AI systems and the technology that it brings. So various industries have been and are looking for workers who can work alongside AI and to ensure the responsible use of it. So while some jobs may have been lost through it, many new higher skilled roles have been emerging with the use of AI.
Yeah, great. And overall, Sergei, would you say AI has created more job opportunities or taken away more jobs?
So while it has lost jobs in certain areas, it's definitely created more job opportunities in other fields. And I think some of these new roles require higher skills and higher specialized knowledge within that AI technology. In the long run, I believe that AI is likely to create more jobs than it will eliminate. However, those jobs tend to be more in the tech, engineering space and cybersecurity space as well. The key challenges that some of the workers are probably facing is that they need to adapt and gain new skills to take advantage of this growing market with AI.
Great. And on this side of the recruitment journey, we have seen, especially in job ads, that more employers are talking about the need for candidates to have AI skills for both job seekers and employers heading into 2025. What skills are being more relevant to have today, and what skills are being more increasingly obsolete?
Yeah, so heading into 2025, there are definitely certain skills that are increasing in relevance for jobs. And whilst we see that, there's also skills that are decreasing in relevance for jobs. So, and that's obviously coming in with the new AI advancement. So I think right now some relevant skills that are getting implemented are AI and machine learning. So understanding how to develop and implement and manage AI systems, digital literacy. So having proficient knowledge in digital tools and cloud computing and emerging technology like blockchain that will be really essential in most jobs. Cybersecurity is definitely a big one, and digital security in general. That's definitely going to accelerate, and I think the demand for cybersecurity professionals will continue to grow past 2025. And even soft skills, so critical thinking, communication, creativity, skills like problem solving, adaptability, emotional intelligence, and communication are becoming even more important as they complement AI technology in the modern workplace as well. So I think skills that are becoming obsolete now are more of like the mundane routine tasks. So routine manual jobs that involve repetitive tasks and data entry, basic assembly, they're kind of becoming a little bit obsolete with the rise of AI technology and machinery. Basic administration tasks, scheduling, simple bookkeeping, and other routine office duties are being handled now by AI-powered technology and software. Basic IT support as well with AI and the AI automation skills and that rise in technology. A lot of the AI tech support roles are becoming obsolete at the moment, and traditional retail roles, some of the skills there are becoming obsolete as well. So as you can probably see in various different shopping centers, they have self-serve systems now. So yeah, we could definitely see that in the rise of the retail industry. So for job seekers, focusing on tech skills, AI, data science, cybersecurity, and soft skills, communication, critical thinking, will be key to staying in that 2025 job market. And employers are going to seek people who can adapt with this technology and work with AI and manage that complex tech-driven environment.
Awesome insights there, Sergei. Thank you. And I'd like to bring the rest of the panel back again for their perspective. What do you think will be the most significant change AI will bring to the job market in 2025?
So I might jump back in there as well. And just by that, I think the most significant change that I believe that I'll see is that the job market will probably shift more towards tech-focused roles. And the routine, mundane tasks within those roles will most likely be automated. So that's definitely something that I'm seeing. And at the same time, there's going to be a big demand for workers with AI and tech skills as well.
I think AI will definitely be able to help us streamline some of the process and procedures, as you were saying, about automating it. I think which will also then give organizations or people in the business actually the opportunity to focus on other projects that might be able to help with growth and development, both of people, but of the business as well.
And one of the things I've noticed is a lot of people panic that it's going to take their job, but see it as a value add and a tool rather than it's, being able to take your job. Because I don't think at the moment we're at that stage where it's going to be taking people's roles, well, for a majority of positions, but yeah, see it as a value add and a tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, moving over to the next trend, we are heading toward a talent. Are we heading toward a talent crisis in 2025? Is Australia on the brink of a talent shortage in 2025? Online employment platform Seek reported a 20% decline in job ad volumes for the 2024 financial year, returning to pre-pandemic levels. Despite this, competition among job seekers has intensified with an average of 175 applications per job posting. With no job market relief in sight as of yet, this begs the question surrounding Australia's talent outlook. Is a crisis looming in 2025? For more on this, we are joined by temporary team leader Aiden Boast from our People to People Sydney office. Hi, Aiden.
Hey, Mary. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, which industries are already feeling the strain on talent shortages in 2024, and how severe is this impact?
Yeah, as you said, it's already happening, unfortunately. So I wish I was a bearer of good news. But yeah, we're currently experiencing talent shortages across various critical sectors as well, driven by a combination of demographic shifts, skills gaps, and evolving job market demand. So the top four I've seen is healthcare, so particularly high demand, like aged care and disability carers, general practitioners, and personal care assistants. The shortage has partly been due to an aging population and an increased demand for health services. The second one was education. So both primary and secondary school teachers are in short supply, especially within regional areas. The education sector is grappling with a lack of qualified professionals to meet the growing student population. Construction and trade would be the next one. So roles like electricians, carpenters, construction project managers are in high demand due to an ongoing infrastructure project. So the sector faces challenges in attracting younger talent and upskilling existing workers. And lastly, logistics. So truck drivers, supply chain specialists are also in short supply, affecting the flow of goods across the country. And the shortages in the sectors are by the need of skilled workers to operate advanced logistics technologies. I also had a look and did some research before as well, and I found there was a website, Jobs and Skills Australia. They identified 300 occupations which are facing shortages in 2024, with nearly 1/3 of all professionals on the list. So yeah, the efforts to address these shortages include investing in vocational training, encouraging diversity, and creating policies that attract both domestic and international talent.
Yeah, that's great insight there, Aiden. And what underlying factors are driving this potential talent shortage in Australia as we approach 2025?
Yeah, the impact of talent shortages in Australia, it is severe at the moment and far-reaching, with both immediate and long-term consequences across multiple industries. So the healthcare and aged care sector, hospitals and aged care facilities, and disability support services are struggling to maintain adequate staff levels, which is leading to increased wait times for patients and a higher risk of staff burnout as well. And we've experienced that from candidates in that space who are talking about staff burnouts. In education, the shortage of teachers, in some cases, schools have had to have temporary closures or shift into online learning just due to the lack of qualified teachers. And construction and infrastructure, so projects are being delayed due to a lack of skilled tradespeople, such as electricians and project managers. Within supply chain logistics, there's been a shortage of staff and it's causing disruptions to the supply chain. So it's basically leading to delayed goods deliveries. I'm sure we've all had our complaints with delayed parcels being delivered. And yeah, rising prices for consumers as well in the supply chain. So people having to pay a lot more for retail's goods, and it can contribute to increasing inflation and pressures and eroding consumer purchase power. And then within technology and cybersecurity as well, we've seen a shortage of IT professionals, especially within cybersecurity. So definitely can pose a risk to the digital infrastructure for Australia and Australian businesses. But yeah, I think overall, just to summarize, we have seen a slowed economic growth, an increasing cost of businesses, and a risk of recession as well. So Australia are trying to resolve these issues by increasing skilled migration, upskilling programs, diversifying the workforces. But it's take time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we are seeing a lot of people move overseas as well, particularly post-COVID, trying to, get the travel bug out, but also gain more experience from working overseas. So naturally losing some of that great local talent to overseas markets as well. So, and given the current talent shortages in Australia, do you think that by 2025, the job market will adjust, leading for a balance between the demand of skilled workers and the supply of job seekers?
Yeah, I wish I had a crystal ball to be able to answer this one, Mary, but unfortunately I don't. But my insights are many of the shortages are highly in specialized fields such as healthcare, construction and technology, like I mentioned, where training and upskilling of the workers is going to take time. So I think it is going to take some significant time for us to recover and get back up to a normal speed. According to Jobs and Skills Australia, where I was doing my research, around 1/3 of all occupations are facing shortages, like I mentioned earlier, and critical gaps are now starting to be seen. So while there are ongoing initiatives to address these shortages, like your training and migration, the impact of these measures may be felt beyond 2025. So the challenges are complicated. It's going to take that time, and throughout 2025 I think there'll be certain industries that will still face significant pressures, especially roles like where we're talking about them specialized spaces. And you'll see employers and policymakers will need to start to contribute to adapting their strategies to address these ongoing issues. So you may start to see some new trends come because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had Leanne talk about her sector earlier, and she mentioned how L&D has become a more popular topic at the moment. So I'll pose a question to the team. Given the current shortage in Australia, do you think that the 2025 job market will adjust and leading to a balance between the demand for skilled workers and the supply of job seekers?
I think we'll probably see a fair bit of organisations from that L&D and training perspective look at internal promotions potentially as they build the capabilities in their organisation. But that can work for some roles, but not for all roles. So those more niche roles where you need whether it be a trade qualification or a specific experience or qualification to take on a role, that will still be a challenge. But I think organisations will look at building their internal capabilities to create that succession planning, potentially filling those more senior roles internally, and then looking to replace at that lower level where potentially they might be able to find the skills a little bit easier. But the big thing about that from that internal promotion perspective is making sure that it's set up correctly for that person going into the role. So there is that training and support provided, but also that they are recognised and rewarded for that promotion as well.
We tend to find because of that, Leanne, you'll start to hear stories around people being too thinly spread. They'll be working on 3 different projects when really there should be only doing one. We then start to see, because of that pressure, temp and contract roles start to increase. So that be a trend that you'll start to see. There's a lot more temp and contract roles creeping up.
Absolutely. I think looking after staff is going to be the number one priority, because we know how skilled shortage it is in some of those industries. You want to make it enjoyable for the ones that you've got and look after them and make sure they're rewarded. So if there are hiring freezes on the permanent front, getting those temps in to support and make sure that we're avoiding burnout and future turnover as well. So,
and you know who to call.
Yeah, that's it.
I think the other thing that organisations need to be mindful of, and I know that we've recently posted a blog around dry promotions or quiet promotions, and that is looking at the internal capability and giving someone, when someone resigns, to automatically give someone that next step up, but not necessarily, they're giving them the title, but not necessarily giving them the remuneration benefit of it until a certain period of time elapses. The challenge that could be faced from that perspective is internal staff will take that opportunity, grab it to get the skills and experience, and if they're not recognised and rewarded within a certain time frame, you may actually run the risk of losing them, which means you lose even more skill and knowledge in the business. So it's something to take into account as well.
Well, as we're approaching the end of this segment, I just wanted to say that People to People has offices across Australia, New Zealand and the UK, spanning a wide array of different industries and specialisations. Let's now cross over to some of the wider People to People group markets to see how have been impacted throughout 2024. To break down the key trends and developments happening across some of these different industries, we are joined today by the following consultants. We've got 𝗪𝗶𝗹𝗹𝗲 from Infront Sports, Kelly Armstrong from Edge Recruitment, and Juma Mrisho from HR Solutions. Thank you all for joining us today. Starting off first with yourself, Cooper. Infront Sports is a recruitment and consulting agency specialising in career transitions and professional athletes and coaches. What has the sporting recruitment market been like throughout 2024, especially in Melbourne?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Mary. Well, the Melbourne sporting recruitment market in 2024 has been incredibly dynamic, I would say. Some major shifts in focus areas from years gone by. So first off, we've seen a growing demand in roles that go beyond the field, so supporting athletes holistically. So that means roles across kind of sports science, mental health, performance analyst, and obviously player welfare are more in demand than ever. So organisations, understanding that athletes need more of a comprehensive support system. So recruiting talent for those areas has been a real key priority for us. Another trend, we're seeing is, the significant impact and investments into grassroots and pathway development. Melbourne for a long time and still is now is a hub for young talent, of course. So 2024, we really saw organisations doubling down in that pipeline from community sports up to elite levels. So created a really strong demand for commercial partnerships, roles, program managers and development officers who specialise in youth and pathway programs. And finally, the recruitment market has been shaped by a bit of an increase in diversity and inclusion. I think organisations are looking to build diverse teams that represent the communities they work in and are a part of more than ever. So, particularly, the youth sports where role models from different backgrounds are crucial for encouraging that retention engagement within the workforce.
Yeah, beautiful. And you mentioned a couple of trends there, Cooper. What has been some leading trend to emerge that you've seen this year, and what do you think will go into next year?
It's a great question, Mary. Well, without a doubt, we've seen the leading trend in 2024 be an increase, in recruitment within the sports technology sector. With your larger sporting organisations across Australia requiring more data-driven information and key analytical insights. So we're seeing a rise in recruitment across, especially sales-based roles, and everything from player performance to fan engagement. As that industry grows, the need for that high-quality candidates who can manage, implement, and also innovate with these new technologies, especially with AI and what that is doing in the sports industry in so many different ways. And the final trend we've noticed is the shift towards business to consumer in sport technology, driven largely by that consumer demand for direct access to performance insights, fitness data, and even coaching resources. That's been, wearables, apps, and other consumer-focused tech. Sport enthusiasts now have the tools that were once, reserved and only used for athletes. And now, everyone can kind of get access to them. So everything from AI-powered fitness trackers to virtual coaching platforms that provide real-time feedback. So that trend requires obviously a unique set of skills, which is quite difficult to find in the market at the moment.
Oh, that's some great insights there, Cooper. Thank you. And we're keen to see what the sport market looks like in 2025. So thank you for your time again. Now, jumping across to South Australia with Edge Recruitment. Edge Recruitment is Adelaide's leading recruitment agency specialising in property, real estate and general admin, having been in business since 1998 and joining forces with 𝗪𝗶𝗹𝗹𝗲 in 2023. To provide us an insight on the property market, we are joined today by senior consultant Kelly Armstrong. What has the property recruitment market been like throughout 2024, especially in South Australia?
So this year in South Australia, we have seen a change in some of the leadership roles within the industry, and also the smaller residential agencies being bought out by larger brands. Within the property space, there has been some movement at a higher level, but mostly this year, this is settled compared to last year. Last year, we had significant change at a really high level in the property space. Last year also there was a big shortage of candidates in all areas of recruitment, where I have noticed in the past 6 months or so there has been a shift. We're seeing more of quality applications come through when advertising. In saying this, there is still a shortage of qualified commercial property managers, residential property managers, lease administrators, but I'm sure that won't change, because within South Australia, some of especially the lease administration roles do tend to be outsourced to the eastern states quite a bit. So we still need more qualified people in the industry. In the resi space, there have been multiple changes with legislation, which is pushing towards better conditions for the tenants. An example of this now is having pets in the home. You're allowed, within reason, you're allowed to have pets in the home without having permission at a rental property.
What challenges in employer demands or expectations have you noticed when it comes to hiring, and how job seekers are approaching the property market within Adelaide?
In the property space, we haven't really noticed a change in hiring, as we are busy as ever. And again, it's the lack of quality candidates that match the organisations that we are working for. This is where I come in as the external specialist recruiter to help my clients and candidates find the right match and seek the perfect fit for all parties. Overall, in the past 18 months, we have seen a jump in salaries across the South Australian property space, in particularly the lower level roles, admin support roles. This has been great for employees and potential candidates, but a major thing that does need pointing out is when there's more money, normally there's more demands in a role. I'm finding when I talk with candidates, this is a crucial topic in them understanding what is required in roles. With inflation and cost of living increasing, everybody wants to earn more money. There is also still that discussion around flexibility here in SA. Most employers are flexible, but it also depends on the type of role. For example, a property manager already has that flexibility. They're in and out of the office all the time, so they have that hybrid work environment, whereas admin roles are wanting the same, but unfortunately, some of them need to still be in-house. It is quite amazing to see how a bit of flexibility, though, with employer goes a long way, e.g. being able to pick up children or working back if they have an appointment in the morning, anything that can help both parties in a relationship when it comes to employment works really well. We're also seeing a big shift in employees going back to the workplace. In Adelaide CBD, Thursdays have become the new norm, whereas it used to be Fridays, as everyone knows. Knock off Thursdays, everybody goes out for a drink, or that's the end of the week, and a lot of people are working from home still on Fridays. In closing, it is critical for us recruiters to be seen that we are supporting both the employer and candidate at all times.
Lastly, we are joined by talent acquisition specialist from HR Solutions, Juma Mrisho. People to People HR Solutions is your partner in business process outsourcing, specialising in everything from talent acquisition and payroll solutions to contractor management and special projects. Juma, thanks for joining us today. What has the market been like throughout 2024 in the world of HR?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mary, again. To answer your question, it's been an interesting 2024, to say the least. The HR market has been relatively stable, but we have seen some dynamic shifts. Key changes have come from evolving employee expectations, economic pressures, and rapid advancements in technology. The job market has remained highly competitive, especially in sectors like technology, healthcare, and finance, where candidates are in high demand, which has led candidates to have higher salary expectations, more flexibility within the workplace, which has naturally given the balance of power towards job seekers when negotiating contracts and salary.
Lovely. And I think, we're all probably feeling those trends at the moment. And you've mentioned a couple of trends there that possibly could be challenges as well. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges facing HR this year for both job seekers and hiring managers? And what do you think will happen in 2025?
Well, look, to branch off what I've mentioned earlier, I would say the biggest challenge this year within HR has been balancing between employee expectations and these economic realities. In my experience this year, I've notably seen that candidates expect higher salaries and flexible working arrangements, which has created a misalignment between job seekers and companies. For job seekers specifically, the challenge has been finding roles that align with their values and desired flexibility, while offering that long-term stability. As we look forward to 2025, I predict these heightened expectations around salary and flexibility will continue to challenge HR teams and hiring managers. With an uncertain economic outlook, companies may face tighter budgets, but the demand for flexibility and competitive compensation is likely to fade. To meet this, I foresee a shift towards creative retention strategies such as greater investment in employee development, internal mobility, and wellbeing programs as companies aim to meet expectations sustainably in the year ahead.
Oh, that's some awesome insights there, Juma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. And if anyone that's watching wants to learn more or get in touch with our In-Front Sports HR Solutions or Edge recruitment team, the links are in the comments below, or you can visit www.peopletopeople.com.au for more information. Should working from home be considered an employee right or a privilege granted by employers? It's been more than 4 years since the COVID-19 pandemic first disrupted the way we work, sending millions of employees home to do their jobs remotely. While many have been filtering back into the office since, with some big companies such as Amazon mandating a full-time office return, most working from home arrangements have stuck around. The ABS have reported that currently 37% of Australians are working from home regularly, with 30% stating that if their desired work model wasn't an option, they would look at another job. Working from home, should it remain a right or become a privilege? Joining us today is legal professional consultant Steph Croker from our People to People Perth office. Thanks for joining us, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me, Mary.
No problem. So how has the growing importance of work from home flexibility over the past few years changed the way employers are hiring talent and how job seekers approach their job search?
So the rise of remote work has, I think, significantly reshaped the hiring landscape. Employers are far more open to considering talent from diverse locations and not just in their immediate vicinity anymore. This has led, I think, to a more competitive job market, with job seekers actively seeking roles that offer flexible working from locations other than just being office-based. In response, many companies have had to adopt a hybrid remote work model in order to attract and retain top talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are the most common concerns employers are having about allowing full remote work, and how valid do you think these concerns are now in 2024?
Yeah, so I would say some of the common concerns we've heard from employers are decreased productivity. I think this concern has been largely addressed by numerous studies showing that remote workers often outperform their in-office counterparts. So I think that has, now that we've been doing it for a while, those reports have definitely shown that it can be done and done well. Weakened company culture is one that we hear a lot. While remote work can impact traditional office culture, innovative companies have found other ways to foster strong company culture through virtual team building exercises, regular communication, and I guess a focus on shared goals. Lack of collaboration. I think modern collaboration tools and AI have made it easier than ever for remote teams to work together effectively. This must be driven from the top down though. And to ensure that an entire team is on board with operating this way if it is to run successfully. I know certainly in the legal sector, there's been comments around the junior staff and particularly for lawyers, firms considering having a different approach to lawyers under restricted practice. Many firms have adopted the approach of allowing RP lawyers only hybrid working on an ad hoc basis so that they don't miss out on practical experience and learning opportunities. And I think lastly, the biggest one has been security concerns. So I think it is critical now, regardless of remote working, that strong cybersecurity measures are put in place. Businesses need to ensure that sensitive data remains protected. So developing policies around MFAs, regular security training, strict device guidelines for outside the office, these are all designed to mitigate these risks. So I think over the course of 2024, many of the concerns that have been raised about hybrid and remote working have become less relevant as companies have adapted to that model and put measures in place to mitigate these risks.
Absolutely. And it's funny you spoke there about the learning concerns for particularly for juniors entering the workforce. And personally, I've felt that when interviewing candidates saying that they're leaving roles because their team's not around and they feel like they're not learning anything. And you think back of when we probably all started our careers, so much of what we know is through that osmosis and learning by just being present with people. So, you know, if you can integrate that when working remotely, it'll obviously help that aspect of it as well.
Absolutely.
And what do you think are some potential negative impacts of employers pushing employees back into the office full time, especially when it goes against their desire to work from home flexibility?
So I think forcing employees back to the office will inevitably have some negative consequences. Decreased employee morale and job satisfaction, taking back what many now consider as an employee right rather than a privilege, could lead to higher turnover rates and in turn lower productivity. I think increased stress and burnout, commuting, childcare responsibilities, other personal commitments can become challenging when employers are required to be in the office full time. Talent retention difficulties. Top talent will look to seek out opportunities with companies that offer more flexible working arrangements. And I think it reduces diversity and inclusion. So forcing employees back into the office can disproportionately impact individuals who are caregivers, those with disabilities, and any individuals with specific needs requirements.
Yeah, lovely. And asking the rest of the panel now, how do you think remote work flexibility and hybrid work models will evolve in 2025?
Yeah, this has been a fairly standard work practice. So a lot of the kinks have been ironed out and a lot of the learnings have been developed. And as Aiden said, it's still a very tight labour market. Employers are going to have to continually be flexible to attract the best talent.
Yeah,
I think we'll go into this is my personal opinion as well, and it's not just based off what the trends I've seen, but I reckon there'll be a lot more freelancing based roles where people are doing gigs. So they're not necessarily tied into maybe even working in an office, let alone having flexibility in working hours. I think there'll be a lot more people who, and we see this on social media, people are encouraged to try and start up your own business and do your do your freelancing things or your side gig. So I think that's going to be a lot more of an encouraging topic in today's labour market, and I genuinely think it will be a kind of, when I get a job I'll do it and then I'll go and try and find something else. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it does, because we've not experienced that before, but I can definitely see it happening.
Yeah, I think employees have really pushed a greater emphasis on wellbeing. So I think companies will need to prioritise initiatives that support employee mental, physical health, such as offering flexible working arrangements. So that can mean something quite different to everybody, and it really is about tailoring flexible individual plans to employees. And when you're making offers, I think businesses will need to strive to create, a positive employee experience, regardless of their work location, and that needs to be sort of, I think, a focus for HR and how they will attract and retain top talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Some key insights there. Thank you, team. And that brings us to the end of our Australian market update. But just before we wrap up for today's live stream, as we near the end of a challenging and unpredictable year, we understand that the uncertainty that may come with planning for 2025. If you're finding it difficult to secure the right talent for your team, our People to People team is here to help. With offices across Australia, we'll be open and ready to support you through the end of the year. Whether you're looking to advance your career or build a high-performing team in 2025, reach out to us at peopletopeople.com.au or follow the links in the comments. We'll make the new year a step forward together. That's it for today's show. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week, the same time, for our next Australian market update. See you then.